Welcome back to the show, and welcome to 2024. If you keep up on entertainment news, and apparently you do, otherwise you wouldn't be checking out my little show, then you know that this year is going to be hit or miss. On the DC front, you have Joker, Folie à Deux, the much anticipated musical sequel to Joker with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. Now, I really don't care much about it, and if that makes me seem like I'm not a true DC fan, well, I get that, but I really didn't care for the first one, and Lord knows I tried to. And the idea of a DC musical, well, it seems kind of weird to me, but who knows? It might turn out to be damn fantastic. Only time will tell. And Joker Folie à Deux, well, it drops on October 4th. Next we have an animated Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. A story, I might add, is one of my favorites from the DC catalog. That'll be available digitally on January 9th and on 4K and Blu-ray January 23rd. Next up, well, we have Aztec Batman Clash of the Empires, an animated movie that reimagines the Caped Crusader back in the time of the Aztec Empire. On television with no real date set, we have the final season of Superman and Lois on CW, a fan favorite of many people, which I've yet to see. Batman Caped Crusader over on Prime. The Penguin series on Max. Now this one I'm highly interested in, not because I thought the Batman movie was all that special, but Colin Farrell's transformation into the tuxedo-wearing crime boss is nothing short of amazing, and I'm looking forward to see what he does with the character. To me, it's going to be hard to outdo Danny DeVito. Next up, we will finally get to see what little Jimmy Gunn's foray into being the head honcho at DC will prevail into, with none other than the confusing animated Creature Commandos. Now, I have to admit, I don't know much about it, nor do I care at this time anyways, much about the project, but I will give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a try, so I can say that I did. Next up, we have... I'm sorry, I gotta stop laughing. We have Kite Man. Kite Man is a spin-off of the Harley Quinn animated series, and all I know is he's a comedic superhero, and he will own a bar. Yes, a bar. Kind of like a superhero Cheers. And then we will have Suicide Squad Isekai, I don't know how to pronounce it, an anime version of the Suicide Squad. This last four will be available on Max eventually. Over at Marvel, we have Madam Web on February 14th. Cassandra Webb, a New York paramedic, almost drowns and winds up with the ability to see the future, and it stars Dakota Johnson from the 50 Shades of Grey movies. Oh, and she's also the daughter of actress Melanie Griffith and a dude you might know named Don Johnson. Yep, that Don Johnson from the classic show Miami Vice. Next up, we have the highly anticipated Deadpool 3 featuring the return of none other than Hugh Jackman himself as Wolverine. This movie comes with more rumors of cameos than we've had actors play the Hulk. Now, I've never really been a Deadpool fan because if you've seen Ryan Reynolds in one movie, well, you've kind of seen him in all of them. He's a one-note banjo with the same shtick. He's the master of sarcastic wit, to be sure, and that's cool if you dig that kind of thing, but to me, it gets old. He's like Will Ferrell. As of now, it will debut on July 26th. Next up, Kraven the Hunter, part of the Sony Spider-Man universe. You know, it seems like everyone has a universe these days. How do I get one? Anywho, as the story goes, Kraven is the greatest hunter in the world. And in the comics, at least, he wants to defeat Spider-Man to prove it. It stars Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, and it has a release date of August 30th, but don't hold your breath, because the date has changed several times. I certainly hope this does better than the last Sony Spider-Verse universe movie, Morbius did. And speaking of the Spider Universe, on November 8th, we will get Venom 3. I don't know much about this one either, so we will have to wait and see. Next up, maybe, kinda, the animated Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is supposed to make an entrance. But what with the strikes and all, I'm not sure this will even make it before the end of the year, but Who knows? As far as Marvel on television goes, well, we have Echo, which will also feature the return of Charlie Cox as Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio, I hope that I never could pronounce his name, I apologize, as Kingpin. We have Agatha, Darkhold series, a spin-off of WandaVision. We have the animated fan favorite return of X-Men 97, an animated Eyes of Wakanda, and maybe, possibly, kinda, sorta, the animated Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Outside of the fact that they don't know when the animated Spider movies are going to be made, what does this all mean? Well, it means that there isn't much to really choose from as far as theatrical releases go anyways. Now, some might think that strikes were the cause of it, and maybe that's true to a certain extent, but those strikes were needed so people could provide for themselves and for their families. That's not really the only reason. We had a lot of shuffling going on with both WBDC and Marvel Disney, and I feel their greed, well, it got the best of both of them and ruined what product that they did have. Marvel, well, they wanted to remain on top and tried to stay relevant and align themselves with modern politics and what they perceived as what was relevant. At least in my eyes they did, and they shot themselves with both barrels and both feet. What they had worked, but they just couldn't accept that no one, and I mean no one, stays on top forever. Well, maybe the Rolling Stones, but hell, those dudes are freaks of nature. What I'm trying to say is, once you've made $1 bazillion, what's wrong with simply maintaining? What's wrong with leveling out? Yes, you may have to tweak things now and then, but turn them inside out and upside down. Well, that's when people get annoyed, bored, confused, and eventually, well, they just stop watching. Evidently, someone has started to figure that out over at Disney/Marvel, and they're doing a soft reboot to get things back in line after several large failures. Oh, and one more thing. They brought back Bob Iger to fix things. And that, in itself, speaks volumes. And WBDC, well, they just can never leave things alone. They couldn't let directors make their magic in the beginning. They had to intervene. They couldn't be patient. They had to be like Marvel. Well, how'd that work out for you, fellas? Back in the day, they forced Snyder out. They hired, they fired, and they hired again and fired again. They made a cluster cluck of a mess, then brought back a worldwide fan favorite with intentions of making things and fixing things, and everyone rejoiced. And then, they fired him as well. And so once again, they make a hard right and a hard reboot, and that has divided so many DC fans that I really don't know if it can be fixed. Some say little Jimmy Gunn is going to do it, but he has all the answers. And anyone who has watched this show knows that I have huge reservations about that. Now, does that mean I hate the dude? No. Even though I've been called a Gunn hater here a few times. Well, I'm not. It's just that I don't see what qualifies him to run an entire studio. Not just that, but take on directing and writing responsibilities as well. He's done one thing that blew me out of the water, Guardians of the Galaxy. Hell, just the opening sequence of Quill dancing to Come and Get Your Love Alone made it a classic to me. It was fresh and new. And it really didn't need to have anything to do with the Avengers to succeed, other than to have the studio call it a Marvel Avengers movie to get people into the theaters. After that, I think it would have made it on its own. Now, who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe he will do the same with Superman Legacy and so on, but once again, I have my reservations, just based on what little he's done with DC so far. I disliked Peacemaker and his vision of the Suicide Squad, and I've made that no secret here, so please don't flame me on it. And so, as I said at the beginning of my yammering, pickings are going to be slim as far as theatrical releases go, to say the least. To put this in numbers perspective, 2023 had 124 theatrical releases. 2024 will have 107. Now, that might not seem like much, but some analysts are saying the drop-off could be as much as $2 billion. And for DC, a company that's $50 billion in the hole, well, you catch what I'm saying here. Will 2025 be any better? Well, DC has Superman Legacy in July and the sequel to The Batman in October. There's a lot of maybes and possiblies and could be's and might be's, but nothing for sure. Supergirl, Batman Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing to name a few. And Marvel, well, they have Captain America Brave New World, Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and Blade. One movie that I might add I'm looking forward to seeing, although with some skepticism because I just can't picture anyone else but Wesley Snipes as Blade. So, my friends, I will close with this. I'm going to go into 2024 with an open mind and give things a try, all the while, mind you, being thankful that I have my Blu-ray and DVD collection that I continue to add to. At least that way I know what I'm going to watch is something that I will enjoy. And yes, I have a few streaming services that I subscribe to, but I'll tell you this, if they keep charging me more money to watch a movie without commercials, well, I won't have them much longer. I mean, isn't that why people started streaming movies in the first damn place? So we could watch movies on the fly without commercials? Without having to warehouse hundreds, sometimes thousands of DVD and Blu-rays? Well, that and the outrageous price of cable television, but here I go yammering again. And I think I'll save that subject for another show. You never know, maybe the next show. And so, with all that said, my friends, I want to say thank you all once again for stopping by. And if you have anything you would like to say, please leave your comments down below. And while you're at it, why don't you hit that like button and subscribe so you can be notified of the next show? Because as you know, the YouTube algorithm, well, it gets confused sometimes. And as always, we hope to see you later. God bless. Socks out.